Irish guy, and right, go back to February 2020, and I made a video on a previous channel predicting what every Premier League club's record signing would be by 2025. Well, 2025 is next year, so let's just see who I said your club would have spent the big monster amount of money on by now. Oh boy, I hope these aren't going to be stupid beyond belief. Right, let's go.
Arsenal, Philippe Coutinho, 80 million. Yeah, I'm calling it right now. We have not seen the last of Philippe Coutinho in England. Just like James Rodriguez, I can see Coutinho spending 2 years on loan at Bayern Munich, winding down his gigantic Barcelona contract before being flogged to Arsenal for a cup price 80 million quid.
What? I mean, I was right. We hadn't seen the last of Philippe Coutinho in England. When this video was published, he was a few months away from winning a treble with Bayern Munich, right? He then winds up at Aston Villa, probably munching cookies and begging Stevie G for a hug. I thought Coutinho would be an Arsenal superstar right now, and Liverpool fans be forced to watch him strut his stuff at the Emirates would be like them having to sit down and look at their mum vomiting into her purse. Instead, Coutinho is playing in the Qatar Stars League, playing in a 9,000-seater stadium. I would imagine he's been driven to the brink of insanity. Right now, he's probably so lonely for England that he's actually voluntarily dipping his chips in rat piss just to remind him of the dinners he probably used to have last year. Instead, Arsenal's record signing is £100 million for Declan Rice. If you had told me that back in February 2020, back when I believed that Rice was just another Danny Drinkwater, someone more average and boring than a cauliflower sandwich, I would have looked at you as if you were insane. I wouldn't have believed it. Yeah, I mean, if you told me that within 2 weeks of the video, I'd have to be using my own socks as toilet paper, and that a routine visit to the shops would never resemble I Am Legend, I'd be confused too.
Aston Villa, Jack Butland, 25 million. Yes, finally the return of Jack Butland to Birmingham via the enemy Aston Villa.
What is this? What? Just what? Imagine any poor Aston Villa fan listening to me suggest that your club record signing by now will be some broken ex-Birmingham City goalie who probably stinks of moldy cheese. I mean, imagine if you had told me that Jack Butland would instead be joining Manchester United. That would also be confusing. It would be like hearing that Fogdad is going to marry Whitney Houston Skeleton. I'd have some questions. Butland is now 30 years old and recently joined Rangers on a free. Aston Villa instead have a World Cup winner between the posts. Someone who last year was voted the best goalkeeper in the world, instead of someone who's probably on the brink of retirement 3 years ago. I mean, Emiliano Martinez has gone to Ballon d'Or ceremonies. Butland probably only ever watched them on his phone.
Bournemouth, Billy Gilmore, 30 million. Clearly that club are in the business of signing overhyped youngsters from big clubs. So in comes Billy Gilmore, an 18-year-old prodigy dubbed the Scottish Zaddy. Chelsea are the type of club who've ignored the talents of Mo Salah and Kevin De Bruyne. So what chance does Gilmore have?
You know what? I'm not embarrassed by this one. No, Billy Gilmore didn't sign for Bournemouth exactly, but I mean, he kind of did. Back in 2020, Chelsea fans were drooling over the Scottish boy's feet. He was talking himself up about his ambition to be the best player in the world. Frank Lampard looked like back then he probably tucked him into bed with a bowl of cereal and a kiss. I don't think Chelsea fans would have thought that he'd be sold for a pitiful lump of money to a bottom half seaside club, but that's what happened, sort of. He became a £9 million signing for Brighton, a club who are only 2.5 hour drive from Bournemouth. They share the same beach. I said he'd be signed by a highly rated English coach in Eddie Howe. He was instead signed by a highly rated English coach in Graham Potter, who, to be fair, abandoned him for Chelsea after just a week. But this was wrong. Bournemouth's record arrival is still the same one it was when I made this video. A £25 million deal for Jefferson Lerma 6 years ago. The Cherries are due a big money splurge. Surely they're going to break their transfer record before 2025. Surely. Hey, Iriola. Gilmore, anyone? If they actually sign Billy this summer, I'll get a tattoo of his name on my neck. Oh, I'm now beginning to sound like that weirdo who stalked him at Mason Mount.
Brighton, Flynn Downs, 20 million. Let's say that £20 million acquisition of young Ipswich midfielder Flynn Downs. As far as marquee club record signings go, that's about as exciting as a toothpaste sandwich.
Again, this isn't really a truly horrible prediction because Flynn Downs was signed by West Ham for £12 million, helping them win a European trophy, and is now unbeaten in his last 19 games on loan at Southampton. So it's not horrible. He's clearly a decent player. But no, Brighton's club record signing is £30 million paid to Watford for João Pedro. Would anybody have predicted that 4 years ago when he was a teenage child who was probably too scared to look Troy Deeney in the face?
Burnley, Jordan Shaqiri, 20 million. By 2025, we're going to see someone like Frank de Boer dragged in from the forgotten wilderness, promising attacking football, spending £20 million on a big name, overrated name from China, i.e. 33-year-old fat Jordan Shaqiri.
What? What? I thought Jordan Shaqiri was a future record £20 million signing for Burnley. No, instead he's since briefly failed in the French league with Lyon, and is now a highly paid designated player for Chicago Fire in the MLS, where I would imagine he stuffs his face with 14 hot dogs for breakfast. It is probably written into his contract that he gets his own personal wedding cake to eat on the flight to every away match. I thought he'd be living in Burnley. Instead, he's in the vast metropolis of Chicago.
Chelsea, Jadon Sancho, 100 million. But where is Sancho actually going to go? Chelsea, if they get the top four, they tick all the boxes. Surely they're about to explode, splashing out an insane 7-figure club record fee for one of the hottest wingers in European football. I mean, it makes sense. Sancho is a Chelsea fan.
What? Oh dear! But lads, at the time of this video, Chelsea's record signing was £70 million spent on Spanish goalie Kepa Arrizabalaga. Since then, the club have spent in and around £100 million on 3 different players. Now, one of them is Jadon Sancho, though. The record signing is £106 million for Enzo Fernandez, who back in February 2020 was 19 years old and yet to make his first team debut for River Plate. He was a reserve team midfielder in Argentina with less fame in Europe than that bloke off the Go Compare adverts. There is nobody on planet Earth who in the weeks before lockdown thought that he'd be Chelsea's record signing by 2025. No chance. It would have made more sense to predict that the Tooth Fairy was going to be arrested for cannibalism. But Sancho, is he a £100 million Chelsea star? No, he's a £75 million Manchester United flop who's currently back on loan at Borussia Dortmund in disgrace. Ah, yikes, I was very wrong.
Crystal Palace, Dwight McNeil, 35 million. Palace will surely cash in on Wilfred Zaha in the summer. Listen, they're never going to attract a player of Zaha's talents, no. So why not offer McNeil a fat paycheck to make the biggest sideways move of his life?
Dwight McNeil has since left Burnley, but is he a club record signing for anyone? Not even close. He's instead the 25th most expensive player in Everton's history in a deal worth just £20 million. Did I really think Crystal Palace were going to replace Wilfred Zaha with McNeil? Someone who is about as exciting as a bag of vomit flavored crisps. To be fair though, I did make this video in an era where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was apparently eyeing a £50 million move for this guy. That's what the papers were saying? Yeah, spending tens of millions of pounds to bring back a failed academy prospect. Dwight McNeil would have been the second coming of Paul Pogba, except, I mean, PP at a twinkle of star quality. McNeil, again, he is more boring than homework. He's just the modern day Marco Brighton, a winger who belongs in 1994. Look, Palace's record signing is still exactly what it was in 2020. Just the £30 million spent on Christian Benteke 8 years ago.
Everton, Ansu Fati, 85 million. Yeah, I have a feeling under this billionaire regime, Everton are going to start spending big money and fast. This is a club laced with ambition, and so yeah, in about 4 years, £85 million to drag in a 22-year-old Ansu Fati from off the Barcelona bench. This will be a massive statement of intent.
85 million. It speaks volumes about how crazy and reckless everyone were with their money back then that I was feasibly predicting that by 2025 they'd have been spending £85 million on a single player. I think if that happened, the FFP lawyers would have seized the chairman's house. Farhad Moshiri would have probably been forced to sell his children on the internet to make ends meet and keep himself out of jail. No, Everton have not broken their transfer record since this video. Instead, it's been a bunch of cheap freebie deals, which is kind of sad.
Do you really think that Ansu Fati is going to go to Everton?
Everyone thought I was crazy to think that Ansu Fati, who back in 2020 was a teenage wonder kid, absolute megastar at Barcelona, to think he'd then reduce himself to lowly Goodison Park? A mid-table Premier League club? Well, yes, he's at Brighton on loan. You thought the Everton link was crazy. Back in 2020, that was more of a normal shout than Brighton. But no, it is still very wrong. The closest Everton ever came to signing a fatty was when they unveiled Rooney in 2017.
Leicester, Jack Grealish, 55 million.
Oh.
Yep, good old Jack Grealish. Never mind in 4 years' time. Lads, this is a transfer that could feasibly happen this summer. I have a feeling that James Maddison is bound for Manchester United. You can almost smell it. Grealish will obviously move on from Villa Park. Leicester can offer Champions League football. Yeah, this is a transfer that just makes sense.
I'm sorry, what? Did I just hear Leicester can offer Champions League football? I definitely said Champions League, right? And not Championship? Yes. In February 2020, they were 3rd in the league, 10 points above 5th, with just 11 games left. Wow, Brendan Rodgers really did bottle that. I really thought Jack Grealish, England's next big hope, that his life's work would just amount to replacing James Maddison as the king power. Instead, he's become a £100 million footballer on £300,000 a week wages, has a multi-million-pound Gucci deal. Oh yeah, and he's a treble winner. And I thought he'd just grow up and spend his mid to late 20s having post-training brunch with Hamza Chidori. To be fair, it's a good job he never entered the Leicester changing room. Putting Grealish and Vardy on the same team bonding trip, their livers would very quickly resemble grimy dog poo. I mean, remember when the West Brom squad under Alan Pardew stole a taxi in Spain? No. If Grealish and Vardy went away together, it would look like the most degenerate stag party in the world.
Liverpool, Erling Haaland, 130 million. Yeah. Here's a big one. Erling Haaland is the informed striker in Europe. He has 40 goals this season. 40! And playing his trade for the biggest selling club on the planet. And yeah, Haaland will wrap up a £130 million move to Liverpool. I don't know what that makes sense.
Wow, just wow. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Liverpool had signed Erling Haaland from Borussia Dortmund for 130 mil. Clearly, I didn't realize that he had a meager 51 million pound release clause in his contract. I thought with the Dortmund connection that Jurgen Klopp would make him the heir to Firmino, that they would tweak their game and suddenly the wingers would be told to feed Haaland. To be fair, that was never going to work. Suddenly asking Mo Salah to leave his ego in a bin and suddenly just cross the ball to Haaland? It'd be like if you asked the Queen to just make her own tea. Salah would probably spat on the floor. No, Haaland has gone on to break records at Man City, while Liverpool's record signing is just the 85 million pounds paid to Benfica for Darwin Núñez. Yeah, back when this video was made, he was at Almeria and being linked with Sheffield United. They chose not to sign him and bought Ream Brewster instead. Wow.
Man City, Bukayo Saka, 70 million.
Did I just call him Sacco?
Bukayo Saka is the next big thing. He'll follow in the footsteps of Clichy, Emmanuel Adebayor, Samir Nasri, Kolo Toure and Bakary Sagna, moving to Etihad in a move that will probably melt the brains of the Arsenal fan base.
Lads, I know what happened here. Because he'd only been on the scene 2 minutes, I was actually getting Bukayo Saka confused with Bakary Sacco, the former wet weasel of a winger at Wolves, Crystal Palace and West Brom. In February 2020, I still hadn't practiced my brain into believing that Sacco was actually a generational talent, although having said that, I did tip him for a 70 million pound move to Man City. Don't blame me for sleeping on him. This was back when he was playing left back every week for Mikel Arteta. He was still yet to score his first Premier League goal. So me, still saying that he's one for the future and would eventually be Manchester City and Pep Guardiola's standard. That's not a terrible shout. I predicted him going to the Etihad before anybody had ever seen him score a goal. Not bad. But no, that move has not happened. Although he still constantly gets linked with that club every couple of months. Yeah, it's 4 years down the line. And City are still sniffing around him, almost as an eventual Raheem Sterling replacement. But no, the record transfer is still 102 million pounds for Jack Grealish. So yes, this is wrong.
Man United, Sean Longstaff, 95 million. Possibly the most underwhelming club transfer record in the entire list. But clearly Longstaff has fans in the Man United boardroom. They're going to be desperate to replace Paul Pogba, and without the law of European football, it's going to be difficult. Mike Ashley is notorious for driving a hard bargain. I mean, 35 million pounds for Andy Carroll. Longstaff.
What? What? 95 million pounds spent on Sean Longstaff. What on earth was this all about? Yes, this is just a few months after Manchester United were linked with a 50 million pound move for the 21-year-old Longstaff. If someone had told me that yesterday, in a few years, he'd be scoring against PSG in the Champions League, then I would assume the move to Old Trafford had gone through. No. Wow, 95 mil. Nah, he's still at Newcastle. And Man United's club record signing is still Pogba for 90 mil.
Newcastle, Joelinton, 40 million. Yeah, this is so typical, isn't it? Newcastle will receive nearly 100 million pounds for one player. What does Mike Ashley do with it? Spend it all at Uber Eats. Yeah, you might say, oh, but he's broken the club transfer record twice in 18 months. Yeah, and look how that turned out. On two supposedly attacking players who've contributed a combined 3 goals in 60 games.
Back in February 2020, I thought Joelinton was awful. A horrible misfit centre forward flop, a 40 million pound disaster buy, generally one of the worst players in the history of Newcastle United. 4 years later, and he's actually one of the best players in the club's history. 40 million pounds was cheap. He's a box-to-box central midfielder who plays for Brazil, has scored a screamer against AC Milan in the Champions League. This is the most unlikely turnaround in the entire list. The Magpies have broken their transfer record. Joelinton is no longer the most expensive Newcastle buy. He's the 5th, languishing behind Harvey Barnes, Anthony Gordon, Sandro Tonali, and Alexander Isak. What?
Norwich, Fraser Forster, 15 million. Why not a 15 million pound return for old boy Fraser Forster, replacing a fellow Geordie, sort of, in the Norwich goal?
No, Norwich's club record signing is the 10 million pound spent on Greek winger Christos Solis from PAOK in 2021. Fraser Forster has since signed for Spurs to sit on the bench.
Sheffield United, Jude Bellingham, 30 million. If Sheffield United finish top half the season, their stock will be high. Why not test the waters with a 30 million bid for Birmingham's teenage midfield sensation, Jude Bellingham? Who knows, they might get lucky.
What? Oh, wow, that actually hurt. I deserve that. This is the most insulting one on the list. You can just tell how much I refused to buy into the media hype for Jude Bellingham at the time. I heard the buzz around this child. This was just a month after Manchester United tried to buy him from Birmingham in the winter window. But honestly, I remember thinking, so what? He's clearly just the next Nick Powell. I didn't care that Manchester United were interested in him. So what? They also signed Odion Igalo that week. I didn't trust their scouting network. Bellingham was 16. He'd made 24 starts for Birmingham in the Championship. Great. The next John Bostock then. That's it. That was his life. I thought a 30 million pound move to Bramall Lane was generous. I realize now, 4 years later, that prediction is aged, but as well as leaving an ice cream in the sun. But I did not think that by 2024, that Bellingham was going to have scored 18 goals in his first 28 games for Real Madrid. I didn't see him becoming a genuine Ballon d'Or threat. No, I thought he would have been doing really well to have the same career of an Aaron Ramsey. Wow, Sheffield United. I actually thought he'd be a Chris Wilder signing. I probably do just sound like some brainless talent scout who back in 2010, amidst all the hype and fuss, told Justin Bieber that, yeah, he just grew up to, I don't know, work on a farm?
Southampton, Ollie Watkins, 30 million.
So I thought that Southampton would buy Ollie Watkins, putting him in the same squad as England rival Danny Ings. Yeah, they did both become teammates at Aston Villa.
Tottenham, Paulo Dybala, 65 million. Yeah, why not? Maybe give them a year to get back into the Champions League, and then yeah, maybe Dybala might be enticed to link up with Jose Mourinho in 2021.
Wow, £65 million for Paulo Dybala. To be fair, Dybala did finally link up with Jose Mourinho for the first time in his career at Roma in 2022. But no, Spurs record signing is still what it was back then. The stupid £60 million waste spent on Leon's Tanguy Ndombele.
Watford, Louis Barry, 32 million. This is the biggest gamble in the list. Louis Barry could well turn out to be a big bag of rubbish, but I'm saying that he's going to be a future Premier League hotshot. Yeah, go on, an eventual £32 million move to Watford before he's even out of his teens.
Oh, this is sad. Louis Barry was once a Republic of Ireland under-15 striker who was swapping West Brom for actual Barcelona when he was just 16. His parents probably thought they'd hit the genetics jackpot, that their son was going to be the next Moneybags megastar. Probably why he deferred England under-16s the next year. I believed in this kid. This was someone who very nearly joined PSG. When I made this video, he just linked up with Aston Villa. A year after this video, he was scoring against Liverpool on his debut. Jurgen Klopp was calling him the little Jamie Vardy. No, he's since gone on loan to Ipswich, Swindon, MK Don, Stafford City, and now finally at 20 years of age, he's still really young, don't forget, and he was actually in sparkling form this season, banging in 9 in 17 games for Stockport County in League 2. Klopp called him a mini Vardy, right? Well, Barry did score in 7 consecutive games this season, including one in a 5-0 battering of Wrexham. Stick that one in your Disney doc. But he's since picked up a 4-month injury, and yeah, no, he's still gonna have a decent career, but I don't think he'll ever be worth 32 mil. Sorry, Louis.
West Ham, Xavi Simons, 45 million.
Xavi Simons?
Well, this is just typical West Ham, isn't it? Swoop in to sign a big player with a big reputation before even properly watching him play.
Again, another one whose name I butchered. Again, no. I appreciate Xavi Simons was a teenager at the time on the books of PSG, but no. I mean, he's still one of the top young talents in the world. He hasn't just fallen off. He's ripped it up on loan at PSV and now RB Leipzig. But West Ham, they're not getting anywhere near Xavi.
Wolves, Francisco Trincao, 60 million. Francisco Trincao is a highly rated Portuguese youngster. Say no more, he has Wolves stamped all over him. Of course, yeah, I know he just tied up a big money move to Barcelona, but a lot can happen in 5 years. Give it 2 or 3 years of warming the Barcelona bench, and then yeah, the striker will get a big money move to a club that honestly should be stuck in the Portuguese league.
I've done it! I've done it! I've done it! I've actually done it! I've got it right! I've done it! I've actually predicted a transfer. I've got it right! I've got one right! Francisco Trincao to Wolves? To Wolves? Oh my word! Yes! When I made this video, Trincao was a highly rated Portuguese winger who had nothing to do with Wolves. He had just joined Barcelona from Braga and had a buyout clause of £500 million. There was no mention of Wolves, no links, nothing. And yet I said he had Wolves stamped all over his face. In July 2021, 17 months after the video was published, he joins Wolves on a season-long loan. But did they spend £60 million to make it permanent?
Wolves paid Barcelona $5 million not to sign Francisco Trincao on a permanent deal.
Let me get this straight. I said Trincao were permanently signed for Wolves. Not only did Trincao not permanently sign for Wolves, but they actually paid Barcelona millions of pounds not to sign Trincao. I can't win! Anyway, that's the end of it. Let me know in the comments, do you want me to do more videos like this where I'm reacting to predictions I did 5 years ago? Because I did a few. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like, subscribe as always. I'll talk shit a while.